My name's Jeff Putt. I'm the Business Development Manager for Storage for APAC for AWS. And so to give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the little red boxes, the three there, EBS, S3 and Glacier, with a real focus on S3 and Glacier and how our enterprise customers are using it to solve unique storage issues that they're facing. Well, generalized storage issues really, they're not unique anymore. Sorry, mate. Oh, sorry, got a few more people coming in. I'm sure we can catch them up once they get here. I want to reward the people that are here already. Okay, so look, when I go around talking to customers all across APAC, these are the sorts of challenges that our customers are facing, right? Overwhelmingly, we're seeing data growth is spiraling out of control, particularly unstructured data. Okay, and that's causing real issues around traditional technologies with your SANs and your block stores and your file stores not really able to scale to accommodate the data growth. If I had $1 for every IT manager I spoke to whose data center is groaning at the seams, I wouldn't need to be here talking to you guys today. And so what we're seeing is our customers are trying to predict their storage needs ahead of time. Because as Andy highlighted in his keynote address, you've got to make that purchase up front. And the one thing I do know is as soon as you make your prediction, inevitably you're going to be wrong. You're either going to be wrong under or over. And you'll either have a service degradation or you'll have underutilized investment. And I guess the traditional architecture is not scaling is causing a lot of the cost problems that our customers are facing. The various hardware solutions that they're looking at, on-premise solutions, very expensive. And then obviously a lot of people are still using tape and finding that very cumbersome. Again, I haven't had a single IT manager come to me and say, I really love using tape. It's the perfect solution for me. And once again, the number of projects I'm coming across where they're looking to do tape elimination. And so essentially, as we've seen the cost scale and various solutions come into place, we see a fragmentation around on-premise solutions. Obviously, you have your primary block and file stores, you've got your archival storage, you've got your disk-based backup, you get tape infrastructure and management, even if you manage to put that tape off-site, and then you sort of got to do it all again for disaster recovery and second site backups. Okay. These all add cost and really restrict flexibility in terms of providing storage services to the organisation. And so we see a lot of our customers asking us, look, what's next? Where do we go from here? Because honestly, our current solutions aren't scaling. And so generally the questions that I sort of get asked and what we're seeing customers that move on to our services is able to achieve these sorts of things. What if I could eliminate capacity planning? What if I didn't have to worry about actually changing my architecture when I hit, say, 100 terabytes or 50 terabytes? Right? What if I was able to eliminate tape or actually not have to maintain a separate backup copy? What if I could compress my storage tier schedules? And so, obviously, you're at an Amazon event, obviously I want to talk to you today about how some of our customers are doing that with S3, Glacier, and in particular the Storage Gateway. Okay, Amazon S3 really, as Andy alluded to today, really allows, it's a highly scalable object store, and it really, due to that scalability, allows our customers to avoid the need to plan for capacity. Okay, you also don't need to worry about provisioning. You just use as much or as little as you need, and you only, once again, following the Amazon model, only pay for what you use, or don't use it, as the case may be. You don't have to worry about natural architecture breaks. You don't have to worry about going from a certain type of architecture to another one. Also, too, it becomes a consumption model. And that dramatically improves the ROI, where you don't have lumpy capital expenditure that you have to plan for ahead of time. Okay, so I often have conversations with customers where they're saying to me, look, I've got 100 terabytes I need to put into S3. What am I going to do? Give me a price. That's often one I hear. And the answer generally is, how long is it going to take you to move that over? Do you need to move all of it over? The answer isn't always get it all in there as quickly as you can. And the real, I guess, the minutiae of the detail around cost savings is if in the first month you've only got 10 terabytes over, that's all you pay for. 20 terabytes the next month, etc., etc., etc. You might not actually be paying for the 100 terabytes until 6 months until your migration's completed. And it's that ability to avoid having to pay for the cost up front that really delivers great benefits to our customers. Right. So I want to just sort of take you through some of the key characteristics of S3. So in terms of reliability, Amazon S3 provides 11 nines of durability. Durability is the chance of when you put something into a storage service, the chance of getting it back again. The uninitiated amongst us might say, well, isn't that always 100%? Hopefully you're sitting next to someone who's had a data failure, and they'll be able to tell you that, no, it's not. All right? One of the other quotes I often hear is, backups never fail, restores do. Okay? With 11 nines of durability, we're able to achieve that because within an Amazon region, as we highlighted this morning, we have multiple availability zones or multiple data centers. And what we do with Amazon S3 is we replicate that around the availability zones within the region. Once again, your data stays within the region. And by doing that, we're able to perform at a level where we can sustain the concurrent loss of data in 2 separate facilities and still be able to return your object. Okay, so Amazon S3 is an incredibly highly durable data store. So the way of looking at it there, if you put 10,000 objects in S3, you lose an object 1 in every 10 million years. I'm sure there's some kind of statistical algorithm that makes all that possible, but essentially that's what you're looking at. We also provide an availability of 99.99% over a given year. Okay, now look, a lot of our customers have come and said, look, I really appreciate the durability, but is there I don't need 11 nines. 11 nines seems to be overkill. And so we offer a service level which we call reduced redundancy storage. Personally, I find that name a little bit challenging because it's still 4 nines of durability. We simply replicate that less aggressively and are able to then offer a discount off the standard price, generally at 2 to 3 cents a gigabyte. Okay. You can see there we still provide 4 nines of durability, but it does reduce the cost for customers. This can be quite powerful when used in conjunction with Glacier. If you have your original files in Glacier, once again, Glacier offers 11 nines durability. You can utilise reduced redundancy for your working set. Okay. We saw this data this morning. The uptake of S3 has been staggering. The reason the last bar doesn't look quite as aggressive as the prior ones is because that's just 1 quarter rather than 1 year. But we have over 1 trillion objects in Amazon S3, 192% growth in 2011. It is one of the biggest data stores on the planet. An object, by the way, can be anything from 5 kilobytes up to 5 terabytes in S3. So we want to talk about security. Obviously, in the cloud, we sort of hear a lot of these concerns. I think Simon mentioned earlier identity and access management. We were able to create and manage users. It really is that is our sort of security profile for the buckets. The concept within S3 is you create a bucket and you put your objects in that bucket. Okay, it's not a file system, it's actually an object store, so you don't have any of the file system style operations. I'll get to how you achieve some of those sorts of things in a couple of minutes. Obviously, access control lists. By default, when you create a bucket in Amazon S3 or you put an object in there, the default setting is deny all. Only the originator can put it in there. You can change that using the access control list. And then you've got various bucket policies around who's available and how they interact with both users and other entities within your organisation. We can do signed URLs to create additional level of security. And then obviously we've got the Amazon S3 encryption client. I do note, though, that a lot of our customers choose to encrypt their own data before they put it in S3, and so you have the concept of encrypting data both at rest and in transit. You put your data into S3 using HTTPS puts, using RESTful protocols, or a S3 client, which I'll take you through in a second. Obviously, with server-side encryption, we manage the key, but like I said, a lot of customers choose to encrypt their own data before they put it in S3, depending on the use case. And finally, logging. One of the sort of, I guess, overlooked security features is our logging. We log every transaction against the objects within a certain bucket, and those log files are very useful as long as you take the time to look at them. Okay, I know a lot of people do diligently do their logging, but then no one ever checks it. So it's very important, and we advocate security best practices around regular log reviews. So you're able to identify any patterns, and obviously there's a number of different software packages that are able to help you do that. All right, simple. So look, with the Amazon S3 object store, there's really no management required. You're not having to add spindles or rack and stack disks or power up another fiber channel architecture or anything like that. You simply put your objects into S3 and there they are. With 11 nines of durability, there's no need to take a backup. We're essentially doing that for you to a better standard than most companies do already. Okay? As I said, eliminate rack and stack. Storage management really is the undifferentiated heavy lifting of an IT department. I don't know many IT departments that are adding value to their businesses by being experts at being able to provision storage servers. It's just not a key business benefit, or it's not an activity that delivers key business benefit and really does fall into the label of undifferentiated heavy lifting that we talked about earlier. And finally, I guess what it really does, it allows an IT department to focus on the business requirements, not the technology. It really just takes the technology and gets out of the way, because essentially you have an unlimited data store at your fingertips. It's also inexpensive. All these features and the durability and the various things I've talked about, unfortunately I didn't have time to swap it over to the Sydney pricing, but Sydney pricing starts at 14 cents per gigabyte and scales down from there. And your data transfer pricing, so it costs you nothing to put data into S3, you pay for a data transfer out. And so data transfer out for Sydney starts at 19 cents and then rapidly drops down to about 12 cents a gigabyte to transfer out. Okay? Reduced redundancy in terms of storage is, again, like I said, 2 to 3 cents depending on the price range you're looking at or the data volume you've got there. And so with S3, you've basically, like I say, for cents per gigabyte, you're able to essentially provision as much as you like. In fact, even saying provisioning it is overstating what you're doing. We've had 21 price reductions in the last 6 years, and so as Andy said this morning, without any competitive pressure, we're passing those price reductions onto the customers as we get more efficient in what we're doing and obviously take advantage of our economies of scale. I wanted to take a quick moment to talk about Glacier. So Amazon Glacier is our new deep archive product. Essentially, it's a how can I put it? It's a low access product. Essentially, it's statistically, when you put stuff into Glacier, it's write once, read never. Okay? It's a tape replacement and is available at a cent a gigabyte. I would note, though, that in the Sydney region, we don't have Glacier at this time. However, any of you have a strong use case for Glacier, I'm very keen to hear it. And we'll take your feedback there. One of the things that Amazon does do is we do respond to customer demand. Hence, we have the region here in Sydney today. And I look forward to hearing if there's any demand for a Glacier-style service here in Australia. Once again, we're able to offer 11.9's durability. And this is where we're seeing a lot of use cases around origin files or archive of record. This is the deep storage. It takes 4 hours to get it back. And you're able to store archive sizes up to 40 terabytes in Glacier. Additionally, with your 1 cent a gigabyte, you also are able to download or retrieve 5% of your total volume free per month, prorated daily. So essentially, your archives need to be about 0.17% of your total volume, and then you'll never go over your free cap as long as you do one of those a day. Okay. So if you think about reduced redundancy, we think about Glacier, we think about S3, essentially now what we're starting to see is the emergence of tiered storage within the cloud. Okay, so it's entirely feasible here where you have your origin files, as I said, in your long-term vault in Glacier. You retrieve a working set to put in reduced redundancy. And as I said earlier, Glacier is write once, read many. And so while you when you retrieve a file, you get a copy rather than actually move the file. And essentially there, in your midterm bucket, you're able to keep files that you might be pending operations and then reduce redundancy, your working store. Amazon S3 scales very well in terms of high volume uploads. I had a customer here in Australia who was ingesting some 1.5 billion objects. They would do that in about 2 days, peaking around 15,000 writes per second. What Amazon S3 does is it really scales well horizontally. And so you're able to do multi-part uploads or lots of small files and achieve really high performance rates. Okay, one of the other services I want to talk about today was Storage Gateway. So Storage Gateway is essentially our vehicle into the cloud. Comes in 2 key use cases, a backup, where we present, it's a VM where you're able to present an iSCSI interface into your local storage area network, and therefore able to be selected as a target for your traditional on-premise backup, depending on what that is. And it basically essentially stores those backups in Amazon S3 in the form of EBS snapshots. All right, so this is very important because once you've got it in an EBS snapshot, should your site go offline, you're able to then mount that Elastic Block Store snapshot onto an EC2 server and be up and running very quickly. Okay, so there's a disaster recovery angle then. Obviously, disaster recovery is a lot more than just being able to reconstitute servers. It's a whole business continuity plan. But it certainly does advantage people in terms of their restore time and restore point objectives. We've just recently announced cached volume support. So what cached volume support is essentially, instead of storing it locally and then using as a backup target, the storage gateway now creates a series of stubs locally and puts those files into the Amazon S3 storage. Okay, that can be up to 32 terabyte volumes, and you can have multiple of those with multiple storage gateways. Okay, so storage gateway for that sort of functionality is once again one of our monthly charges. It's $125 a month, obviously plus your data that you've got on S3. Very economical way. Additionally, it comes with 2 months free trial, so customers are able to download it, try it out, see what they think, and we've got a number of customers who are using this both as departmental backup and in a file sharing use case in terms of cache volumes. You can see there, just confirming all the things I talked about, and essentially it allows you to put your corporate file shares into S3 and achieve the durability and the availability we talked about earlier. Now, Simon did talk about Direct Connect. We do offer Direct Connect here in Australia. 10 gig port is presented at the Equinix SID3 facility. And so if you're in Equinix SID3 or you have an ability to connect to that, we charge $2.80 an hour for a 10 gig port. That roughly approximates to $1,200 a month for high-speed upload. Additionally, we're also working with a number of telcos in our Direct Connect partner program. I'm able to announce today that our first partner that's gone live is AAPT with their AAPT AWS Connect product. That's a 10 or 1 gig product that you're able to originate the AE end on your location and terminates in Equinix, the facility. You'll need to talk to those guys for the pricing. Per month, it's $1,200 a month. Yep. $2.80 per hour. That's for the 10 gig. And look, really, as Simon highlighted, you could run your VPC across this Direct Connect, but essentially what it does is it allows you to avoid the internet and essentially have uncontended bandwidth into the AWS realm, as you will. Let's not forget Amazon Import-Export. Amazon Import-Export is really based around the tenet of don't underestimate the bandwidth of a courier bag. Okay? Import-Export is where you are able to ship us hard drives. We will mount those and put them into your S3 bucket of choice. Obviously, you have there's a console where you're able to put a bill of materials on the various hard drives you send us. And whilst this might seem sort of a bit hokey in this day and age of high-speed interconnects and the like, I've had customers successfully ingest well over 400 terabytes, 500 terabytes in import-export, and in some cases, particularly if you're going to the US or foreign lands, it really is one of the most efficient and cost-effective ways of getting large volume data sets into Amazon S3. So I guess in summary, S3 and Glacier are really fundamentally designed to work with other services. Historically, when you put your stuff into archive or backup storage, that's sort of the end of it. But with S3, what it offers is the opportunity, once you've got your data in the cloud, to actually discover new use cases for that data. And we've got a number of customers that are monetizing their data or content in new ways with S3. Obviously, we see standard customers like Netflix, where they've got all their content in S3 and are able to serve it to their users and customers. But also, as I highlighted, a number of customers are monetizing their content in whole new ways simply by putting it into the cloud and then building a model around it by making it available and then targeting customers that might find it valuable. S3 also then services, obviously, DynamoDB. You can serve your data into our content distribution network, CloudFront, and all the other services there. So I wanted to quickly take a moment and talk about some partner/ecosystem solutions. The main way of interacting with S3 is through our API set. We've obviously got development kits, SDKs for .NET, Python, Java, Ruby, PHP, etc. and you're able to do that over an HTTPS connection. Now, we've got a number of storage ISVs, independent software vendors, who've already written code to those APIs and then embedded that within appliances or virtual machines, such as we've done with the Storage Gateway. I want to take you through a number of use cases and mention some of these partners. You might be familiar with some of those names. Some of those names might not be that familiar to you at all. First one I want to talk about was thin SAN. So we talked about thin SAN in terms of the ability to take your SAN and drain it to S3. Yeah? Obviously, Storage Gateway does that, but I also wanted to mention Twin Strata as a potential vendor that does that as well. They're a partner of ours. They have an appliance that does a very similar thing. They will also compress and dedupe the data to save on network bandwidth as it goes into the cloud. They'll present an iSCSI interface back into your local SAN and either act as a backup target or using the logic in their application as a way of archiving old data or aging data into the cloud, where it maintains a local cache of frequently accessed data. The next session is thin NAS. Once again, a very similar concept where you essentially archive your files into the cloud. There's a couple of use cases here. Your file system can either be, I guess, manage the growth of your file system by archiving into the cloud, but more importantly, you have the ability now to not have to worry about running out of capacity. Okay, you've got your 20 terabyte, your 100 terabyte drives. Because S3 is effectively limitless in its scale, what you're able to do is again, provide quite strong growth and take account of customer growth. Another use case for thin NAS is where we're able to do this globally. Because obviously the data's in the cloud, there's a company called Panzura who maintain a metadata store that allows me, for example, if I was in London accessing the same file system as someone else was in Sydney, to manage the file locking between those two various data stores and essentially present a global NAS. It's a very, very popular use case, and it's one that a lot of customers are exploring right now, particularly those that are distributed. Another use case we see here is a group called Oxygen Cloud, which is a way of thinking about that is essentially corporate Dropbox that is activated by your corporate authentication mechanisms, for example, Active Directory, and they specialise in being able to provide a console where the IT department can provision users on Dropbox, on Oxygen Cloud, looks like Dropbox, and also with a number of portable clients on things like iPads and phones and the various and Android devices as well. It's once again, another strong use case we're seeing a lot of interest in because IT managers currently are struggling with the, I guess, Dropbox is this decade's access database, where you're seeing a lot of users take things into their own hands and share files as the file volumes go up. File archive, once again, from the filers, and actually, rather than just draining the SAN into the cloud, it's actually treating the cloud as an archive target. And this is typically done with software. So this is where we see the Commvaults, the semantic net backups, and a variety of other pieces of software that are able to write natively to S3. Additionally, we've also got Oracle RMAN as part of the secure backup suite, which is able to target an S3 bucket as a backup target. Okay, so you can see as we're getting more and more vendors writing to our APIs, we get a far greater selection of backup options. Email archive, there's one key player in this space, that's a company called Sonian. And there's two key benefits that Sonian provide. One is the real expertise in e-discovery. So one of the reason people want to archive email is all around legal challenges and legal requirements to hold that email. But also too, once you do your retrieval of that email archive, then being able to mark it as read or reviewed by the lawyers or however it goes, that's a process in and of itself, and Sonian are experts in that. The other one is also, and this obviously is one of the biggest pain points for a lot of IT departments, unlimited email inboxes. I don't know about you, but I get very frustrated when I've got to either upgrade my inbox or delete mail or whatever. I don't know if I'm just lazy or if it's actually my ruthlessly efficient way of working, but I prefer to maintain quite large file sizes and email inbox sizes as well. Because Sonian's allowing you to transfer that to S3, what that does is it takes the pressure off the local file stores for the IT department. Tapeless cloud backup, really this is just where we're replacing the VTLs, data domain, as an example. And once again, this is where the semantic net backup and the convolts come in. Essentially, you're able to supplement your tape drives with S3 and able to achieve, depending on the software/hardware solution, far greater read performance. So essentially, Amazon S3 is, as I said earlier, not really to be thought of as an end to where you're putting your data, just sort of leave it, but actually almost as a beginning, because from S3 you're able to put your data back into EC2 and run compute operations on it. You can obviously do elastic MapReduce and make data available for DynamoDB and NoSQL type database processing as well. To say nothing of being able to serve it out of S3 into CloudFront. So Amazon S3 really is a strong product that is almost at the heart of a lot of the other services that we offer. So in terms of AWS storage, look, the financial benefits, hopefully you've heard a lot about this today, significant reduction in capital investment. Essentially, you are able to free yourself from CapEx in terms of storage growth. You only pay for what you use, and if your storage volume decreases, you don't pay for, obviously you pay that reduced amount. As with all Amazon services, there's no minimum time, no minimum volume, no minimum spend required. You simply just start using it. One of the strong case studies, not sure if many of you heard of NASDAQ, they run a service called Market Replay, and that Market Replay service is essentially where they offer transactions of all the stock transactions that have occurred over the last 20 to 30 years. The first month that service was live, sorry, the first weekend that service was live, the S3 storage bill was something like $59. Obviously, it's a lot more now as it grows, but they're able to build that service, and then it was able to scale as they grow. Obviously, we eliminate the need to over-purchase. Operational, you're able to streamline your data management operations. You don't need to forecast your storage anymore because you simply consume it as you go. And then finally, you avoid the need now to worry about storage becoming storage provisioning becoming an issue. The whole storage management headache is removed, and that means that the IT department, in terms of its storage, can be a lot more flexible and responsive to the business. So I've mentioned a number of products available there. That's my email. Very keen to hear from any of you that want to talk about this further. I've got more detail on those vendors that I mentioned, the ISVs that I mentioned. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you very much.